Think back to the year 2008. You just finished the World at War campaign and you're ready to relax. Maybe you stayed up late to do it or you got up early. Either way, everyone else is asleep and you're alone. As the credits fade and you expect the main menu, it's not what you're greeted with. Your screen starts to distort and suddenly you're greeted with this scene. As it loads, the map demands your attention. You hear the echoes of laughing in the distance, but besides that, you're totally alone. Welcome to Nacht der Untoten, or The Night of the Living Dead. Well, it doesn't look like much. It was the foundation of a sub-franchise that still has a dedicated fan base over 16 years later. So, why did this small little bunker hook so many people in? First, I believe it's the simplicity in its design. There isn't much to do on this map. There's 3 buyable doors, a couple of wall weapons, and the soon-to-be iconic mystery box. Simple, however, does not mean easy. Nacht is hard. In fact, its difficulty is only second to one other map in the entire franchise. Since players in 2008 hadn't really discovered training yet, you had to camp, and since only one gun really worked past round 20, that not only made for an extremely fun challenge, but kept games short. Back when this was new, rounds like 100 or even round 50 were not thinkable for the average or even good Zombies player. Really, everything inside of Nacht is a rough version of what the mode would evolve into. Instead of all-powerful, infinite damage wonder weapons like the Thunder Gun, you had the Ray Gun. The core set of power-ups were in the map, but they had yet to get their icons, and things like Fire Sale hadn't been introduced yet. The mystery box was here in its full glory, except it was locked in place with no risk besides maybe a bad gun. The other main factor for Zombies becoming as popular as it was is that Call of Duty didn't really have a replayable co-op mode outside of the competitive environment that is multiplayer. Sure, you had the campaign, but you're not going to load that up time after time with your friends. You're going to play it once and probably forget about it. With that, this mode kind of acted like a sandbox for you and your buddies. Maybe you wanted to see if you could get to round 30 with just one box hit, or try your luck just inside the starting room. These aspects pushed Zombies into the spotlight for Call of Duty at the time with how many different ways you could play it. With DLC season approaching and the success of Nacht der Untoten, there was no way that the Zombies franchise was gonna just end with one entry. So that begs the question of what came next? Verrückt is where Zombies both peaked in horror and pure difficulty. The two aspects work together in every part of the map. Narrow hallways give you little room to navigate around the zombies, while you feel trapped and claustrophobic. Super sprinters will show up in the later rounds to keep you constantly on edge. At the start, you're cut off from your teammates. You need to reach halfway around the map to even reunite with them and turn on the power. Even the box will work against you at times. With several locations around the map it can now move to without even giving you your gun. Don't worry though, not every single thing that's new makes the game harder. Verrückt introduced Perca-Colas, and the 4 most iconic ones at that. Double Tap, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, and most importantly, Juggernog all made an appearance on this map. These powerful upgrades are also locked behind the newly added Power Switch mechanic, meaning you still have to survive without the help of these new drinks for a little while. The implementation of perks was the most important thing that Verrückt did. On Nacht, you could set up completely after 1 or 2 lucky box hits by round 3, killing the progression of the game. Now the player has to slowly build up and spend points to get the power on, then get even more points to obtain their perks and weapons. This type of flow sets a trend that every single map after will follow. The other notable additions were the first appearance of traps, voice acting for the Nameless Marines, and the first musical Easter egg. Plus, the PPSH was introduced onto this map, the most iconic non-wonder weapon in Zombies history. While it's far from a modern Zombies experience, Verrückt is where you can start to see the mode shaping into what it is today. With traps being introduced, players now had a way to kill zombies at any round, not having to rely on weapons that would be outscaled by round 30, marking the first infinite damage source in Zombies. Verrückt is also where Treyarch started to think about the story that would later become integral to the Zombies experience, with Samantha's teddy bear showing up and different aspects like Tank Dempsey being on the map. But even Treyarch didn't really know where it was going at this point, and they were kind of just throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. Even with all of these additions, Verrückt is often the least talked about when discussing the World at War era Zombies. This is likely because it was the least played by the community once all 4 maps came out, giving it less nostalgic value. Though, when looking at the evolution of Zombies, Verrückt is equally as important as an entry like Doris. Even though it fell out of favor once all 4 maps were in the game, Verrückt certainly propelled the Zombies community forward in numbers, meaning that DLC 2 of World at War would definitely need to cook up something new for the Zombies players. And this came in the form of Shino Numa, contrasting Verrückt as the easiest Zombies map to date. But before we get into the map itself, we need to talk about the introduction of the cast of characters that we're going to be following for the next 4 years. Edward Richtofen, the mad scientist. Richtofen is the centerpiece of the upcoming story, having captured all 3 of our other playable characters and pulling the strings to move the story forward throughout the next couple of games. Nikolai Belinsky, the drunk Russian. Nikolai only wants one thing, and that's more vodka. As he kills the hordes of zombies, he will tell you about his many previous wives and their unfortunate fates. Tank Dempsey, the American hero. Tank fills his role of the badass super soldier. He was eventually stated to have been captured by Richtofen after living through the events of Verrückt. Takeo Masaki, the samurai. Takeo has a great love for his country with a strong desire to serve the emperor and bring honor to his family. These colorful characters are all comedic stereotypes of the countries they come from, leading to some hilarious moments as we see them take down the hordes of the undead. This crew would later be dubbed as Ultimus and is loved by the community and one of the many reasons people fell in love with this game. Shino is very distinct from its predecessor. While Verrückt turned difficulty up to a 10, focusing on a challenging and terrifying atmosphere, Shino Numa offered a more casual experience. Sure, it could be a struggle to get set up at times, but the wide open spaces and only being one door away from the box made everything a whole lot easier. Compared to the claustrophobic feel of Verrückt, every area you'll find in Shino has enough room to easily move around full hordes of zombies. This led to the birth of training, which is the main way Zombies is played today. This is why Shino Numa being easy is important to the evolution of the mode. Players need a forgiving environment to practice this new skill and strategy, then they could take it to the old maps to push what was possible on them before. Open space isn't the only reason this map is easy. The box is packing something brand new that every player will want to get their hands on.
They say I've got an electric personality.
The Wunderwaffe DG2 is the first infinite damage gun in Zombies. Not only that, but in this game it has the ability to get drops, so max ammos and insta-kills are still on the table. This gun is not only iconic due to its power, but its memorable design that players fell in love with at the time.
The Devil's Dogs. No match for the U.S. Marines. Fetch me their soul.
Hellhounds made their first appearance here. While they aren't the most difficult if you're able to get a solid weapon by round 4 to 6, they certainly aren't the paper-thin dogs that you'll see on BO3 and onward. If you aren't careful, they certainly can end your game. Making their return on this map, but with a new twist, are the Perca-Colas. They're no longer linked to a power switch, but instead randomized in different locations each game. You could open Juggernaut by round 6, or you could be locked away from it until the entire map is open. And while this could get annoying at times, it does add some needed aspect of challenge into this map. Some smaller additions that are worth mentioning because they are built upon later are things like the first buyable shortcut for movement, a variety of traps outside of the lightning trap, and the sky beam to indicate where the mystery box is after it moves. While Shino could be somewhat forgettable at times in terms of its gameplay, it did keep inching the game forward, slowly getting us closer to a modern experience. Every map in World at War built off of each other, until it all came to a peak with the final DLC release, Der Riese, or The Giant. This is the World at War formula perfected. It struck a balance between the head-pounding difficulty of Verrückt and the mind-numbing ease of Shino Numa. Training was doable for the average player, but for those who didn't like it, there was the most well-known camping spot in Zombies history, the Catwalk. This was the map that solidified Zombies as a mainstay mode for every Treyarch game to follow, and its formula would be built upon and imitated for years to come. Teleporters were introduced as a way to navigate around the map, and after all 3 had been linked, the player was given access to the iconic Pack-a-Punch machine, the last missing piece for progression of a modern Zombies map. No longer are players gated from the late game by the restrictive power of base guns. Everyone has a fighting chance, not just the lucky soul who pulled the Wunderwaffe. Speaking of the Wunderwaffe, it pretty much became unusable on this map due to a bug. If you accidentally shot yourself with it, you would no longer have Juggernaut until you went down. This can be annoying, but it did accidentally help with forcing the player to experiment with newly pack-a-punchable weapons, slowly learning what worked and what didn't. Der Riese flowed seamlessly with itself. Once power is on, you have access to Jug regardless of which side you came from because the bridge will connect the upper level. Each section of the map contains one perk for you to buy while you work toward unlocking each teleporter, which are located in all 3 corners of the map, so you do have to open the entire map to get access to Pack-a-Punch. Hellhounds make their return from Shino Numa, but this time they can start to be mixed with the zombies as the game goes on. The newly introduced Monkey Bomb can give you a brief moment of rest to grab a gun or revive a fallen teammate, but the dogs won't follow it, so you'll always have someone coming after you. So you best get your upgraded ray gun and PPSH and hold out for as long as possible on the catwalk. Call of Duty Zombies is a major part of my life. I've been playing it for 16 years now. After playing some of the old games, I grew nostalgic for the feeling these pieces of media gave me as a kid. So I hope that you all follow me as I reminisce on not only every single Treyarch Zombies game, but all the other studio spin-offs with all of its highs and lows. Subscribe so that you don't miss it, and I hope to see you next time to discuss the foundation of modern zombies, Black Ops 1.